Hello, welcome to the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. I am your host, Roy Kessel, and today we are very excited to have with us special guest Rob Ohno. Rob is the president and CEO of the ANNIKA Foundation and works very closely with Annika Sörenstam and the great work that she's doing. So, Rob, thank you for taking time to join us on the show.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks, Roy.
We know you've done so much work and are excited to see the progression of how you've helped the foundation grow. But I want to back you up to the time when you were a young boy and ask, what's your first memory of getting excited about sports? What drew you into sports?
Oh, I think it was just my father, coached a lot, coached youth sports, coached high school, and probably I just got involved in a lot of different sports, just because of him. I grew up in Minnesota, so I played ice hockey, soccer, and baseball, and played those three sports all the way through high school. And, obviously did other sports, for fun, but from a competitive standpoint, I played those three different sports. But yeah, it was probably just from my father and his interest in sports.
So when you talk about playing three sports in today's world, that's unusual. There's so much sports specialization that goes on out there. What was your favorite sport, do you think, if somebody had forced you to choose at that age?
Yeah, it's a good question, Roy. I mean, I ended up playing ice hockey in college at Harvard, and I played on nationally ranked teams, so it was an amazing experience. But I mean, honestly, my favorite sport was the one that was going on. So fall was soccer, winter was hockey, spring was baseball, and then for better or worse, I ended up playing, three sports or two or three sports in the summer. So, it was just whatever the sport I was playing was the one that I really enjoyed. I was pretty competitive. I was usually playing on pretty good teams. Was a decent athlete, was captain in a lot of my sports teams. So I just, had a really good experience, a really good learning experience through sports. And I really loved it.
You touched on an interesting point, which is your favorite sport was the sport you were playing at the time. And I think that's one of the big challenges we see out there today where kids are playing one sport year round. You don't get that sort of respite to be able to come back and kind of redevelop the love for that sport because it becomes, in a sense, almost a job, over professionalized. So, in the work that you're doing now, how do you see that playing out in the golf world?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'm sure, I know we'll talk about our foundation, but we try to provide a lot of opportunities and experiences for girls and young women through golf. But what we really try to do during the tournaments or the initiatives that we do, we just try to broaden the perspective of the girls and the young women. And honestly, sometimes it's just saying it's good to have interests outside of golf. But we just try to broaden their minds, broaden their interests beyond the game. And we try to help them with life lessons that are learned through golf that can help them in life. I mean, we believe golf mimics life. Golf provides a lot of life lessons. But if you're an athlete, as I know you've talked to many, honestly, you're just really focused on the tournament at hand or the game at hand or the round at hand. And you're really not that focused on everything around you. And we just try to help the girls and young women understand what they're learning through this golf journey will be so valuable to them to be, in essence, successful as a person. So we just try to broaden their mindset. We want them to pursue their dreams and do their best and all that kind of stuff, Roy. But we just try to help them that, golf isn't always the end all be all. Golf can also be a means to an end. You can use what you've learned from golf and do other great things in life and climb up other mountains. And I think that's what I'm really proud of, what Annika preaches. And you would think she would only be interested in results and winning since she was the greatest of all time. But she really cares about these girls and women as people and just wants to help them develop as people, not just golfers.
Well, that's so important. And you talked about yourself playing three sports and playing hockey at Harvard. looking back, what do you think are some of the best lessons that you took away from those sports experiences?
Yeah, I mean it's plenty. It's having a strong work ethic. It's having time management. It's getting along with all personalities. It's dealing with failure. It's dealing with success. It's playing as a team. It's being a leader. Within a team concept. It's dealing with the ups and downs that sports and life, throws at you. I mean, honestly, I've learned. It's hard to understand when you're doing it, but when you're able to get away from it and reflect back and kind of see what you've learned from the journey, I mean, it's an immense amount of advice, lessons, and information that you've learned that basically guide you through the rest of your life. I mean, Annika right now, I learned from her, results always aren't the most important thing. I mean, obviously you want to do your best. You want to, ideally win at whatever you're doing. But for her, it's just continual improvement. It's just always trying to get better. It's always working on something that will make you better. And she just has a little bit longer point of view on things and on life. And it's one thing I've learned from her. I've only been working with her less than 3 years, but just the continual improvement aspect or philosophy, it's really helped me. It's helped me deal with the ups and downs. If you've had a failure, as long as you've done your best and, you've learned something from it, it's really not a loss. But just her philosophy of just continuing to improve. I've learned right away from her, and it's made a big impact on me.
As you look back at your career when you finished it at Harvard, when was the first time that you thought that you might be interested in working professionally in the sports world?
Yeah, I played hockey after college. We had really good teams in college. We lost in the national championship game 2 of my 4 years. I mean, we had really, really high quality teams. And so I had a chance to play in Europe for a year. And for me, it was not just to play hockey only. It was just like, oh, wow, I get a chance to experience another culture. So I did that for a year. And then I had a goal of getting into something called brand management. It's working for a consumer product, consumer foods type of company. And so for me to do that, I needed to go to business school, and then I needed to get a job that led me to business school. So I probably kind of had a goal in mind, work in consulting for a couple of years, go to business school, which I did at Kellogg at Northwestern. And they were really known for getting people into brand management. So I worked at General Mills for a few years, and then I did something crazy and asked for a 6-month leave of absence because I wanted to get into the sports industry, ideally the golf industry. And I couldn't, and I needed to meet people to make that move, and I couldn't meet people if I was working. So I asked for a 6-month leave of absence, and I just basically networked, every day, 24/7, just to meet people in the golf industry. And I worked really hard at that and ended up meeting a lot of people and getting some opportunities. So I actually never went back to General Mills. I got into the golf industry, and I've been working in it now for the past 27, 28 years.
Well, that's a big risk to take the jump out of a blue chip brand like General Mills and go off on your own to do that networking. It's something not many people are willing to do. What gave you the comfort to know that you were going to find the home?
Well, one, my wife was supportive, so that was really helpful. And I didn't really know how my parents would react, but I think it's just, we live a life, or I believe in living a life without regrets. You never want to say, oh, I wish I would have done that, or, I wish I would have considered, doing something else. So it's just more of that type of mentality. It's just, kind of set a goal, go for it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, hopefully you've learned something through that journey. And so, again, I think it was just that type of mindset. I figured I could always find a job. I was doing well, thankfully, at General Mills. I actually was just trying to meet people. So 5 years down the road, I could maybe get into the golf industry. I actually didn't think I would make a move within 6 months of leaving or taking the leave of absence from General Mills. That just happened to work out. But yeah, it was just a passion. I thought it'd be cool to combine a passion with a career. I had a lot of respect for the sport. Call rules infraction on yourself. You only got paid until Live came around. You only got paid if you made the cut. The sport was about giving back and helping charities, helping communities. I just thought there was a lot of cool things about the sport. And then, I started playing golf more after college, a little bit more seriously. But it was just the industry, the golf industry and the sport of golf itself that just was really intriguing to me.
Well, there are so many intriguing elements that you talked about, that golf is that metaphor for life, where you learn those lessons and you can observe the behavior and the temperament of people on the course when you play with them. Tells you a lot about the way they're likely to handle adversity or difficulty and challenges in life. And so when you started in golf, what was your first role?
I worked at a company called American Golf Corporation, and they owned golf courses, public, private, and resort courses all around the country. They had some outside the US. And so I basically helped the private club division basically to generate more money. That was my role. So I was flying around to all these really nice private clubs, basically, Roy, every week, having meetings, helping them, in essence, acting like a consultant and helping them figure out how they can generate more money from memberships, from group sales, in whatever the different ways were. And, as a person who was, in their 20s, I think at the time, it was pretty amazing just flying around to all these, pretty nice private clubs. Some were more entry level, some were super nice. But it was kind of fun just to be flying around the country and, helping, being in the environment of these really nice clubs and then trying to help them do better. But that's how I started. And then I did that for 3 years before I moved over to the PGA Tour.
So I know American Golf had a lot of courses. We'd done events with them at different places around the country over the years. And at the PGA Tour, take us through what you were doing there and then how that kind of resonated to lead you towards Annika.
Yeah, and someone who I used to work with at General Mills when I was working at American Golf sent me this job opening at the PGA Tour, I remember. And I was traveling all the time, so it was kind of hard to respond. But I think it was after 30 days, I said, oh, what the heck? I might as well send in my resume to the PGA Tour. And honestly, within a day, I heard back. It was so crazy. And I think what happened was they had gone through their influx of candidates and maybe they didn't find who they were looking for. So when my resume came through, it wasn't amidst the 500 other resumes they were getting at the time. So I ended up, talking with the PGA Tour and ended up making the move. And I stayed there. I was there 24 years. So, I enjoyed a long career, got up to the executive committee, was heading up different parts of their sponsorship business. And then the last, 5 years, I was heading up their international tours. So at the time, I was overseeing 3 of the 6 tours under the PGA Tour family. And it was to broaden out the effort to bring in players from all over the world, to get into the PGA Tour family. So I was overseeing a tour in Latin America, Asia, and then in Canada. And it wasn't just for players in those regions. It was players all over the world that just wanted to try to make it to the next level, which was the Korn Ferry Tour. But I think in some ways, Roy, that was the first time I felt like, wow, what I'm doing is really making an impact on someone's life. Like they wouldn't have gotten to the Korn Ferry Tour or the PGA Tour if they couldn't play on these international tours. So it was kind of a neat feeling of feeling like you're really helping somebody. And And then COVID came, and then I probably, like a lot of people, you're just reassessing what you're doing in life. And, I did the same, and I was doing a lot of things to help young people, speaking, board service, whatever it was, and just getting some nice feedback on helping young people, basically. And I wasn't going to be the next commissioner at the PGA Tour. I had gone as far as I could, and I don't know, I started just keeping my eyes and ears open, and I ended up seeing something on LinkedIn, actually, that this job opening at the ANNIKA Foundation was open. And so, similar to the PGA Tour thing, I sent in some information, and Mike McGee, Annika's husband, and in essence, one of my co-bosses, reached out to me within 5 minutes and just said, "Hey, are you interested? Is this a joke, or did LinkedIn think that you're a good fit?" And that's how that started. But it was probably inspired by COVID and just kind of reassessing life, wanting to make an impact on people with your life. And it led me to the Annika Foundation, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to do what I'm doing.
So, as you said, you've been there about 3 years now. Take us through, the whole process. As you look at this, you came in the door. Obviously, Annika's the top of the mountain in terms of success in women's golf, in all of golf. Talk about what you found when you came in the door, and then what your challenges have been over these last 3 years.
Yeah, I actually remember having lunch with Annika, her husband Mike, and the board chair, Jay Brennan. And I had met Annika and Mike briefly, but we didn't really know each other from before. So to just sit down and listen and get to know them, it was pretty, I was blown away how real, sincere, humble, authentic Annika was. I mean, you would just think of someone who's just the greatest of all time, and you would think they would just have a super big ego and, not, be so far ahead or high up than you that you can't really relate. And it was literally just talking to a real person, and I couldn't believe it. And so that was the first thing. And then the second thing, at this lunch, she shared her vision for the foundation, because they had done a great job and they, building it, but they really felt like there was an opportunity to really grow with women's sports, kind of taking shape, and, even more young golfers, taking up the game. And she laid out a vision for the foundation. And I was just blown away that this athlete who had only spent 2 years in college, I didn't realize how smart she was. I was just thinking an athlete, she left college after 2 years, become the greatest of all time in golf. But she's really bright. And she shared this vision of the foundation, where she wanted it to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. That she just has this vision and this leadership. And she was so organized. I mean, it was incredible. So anyways, those were probably the two hooks. But my challenge has been, how do you grow the foundation without asking Annika to keep flying everywhere? So she's flying. She flies around the world. She flies around the country, and it's easy, honestly, to do initiatives when you promise that Annika is going to show up and Annika is going to be there. But our goal, or my goal, was to come up with, how do we grow the foundation and do more initiatives, impact more young people, more girls and young women, without asking Annika to keep flying everywhere. Like, we're going to Japan for a new event. She literally would fly. It takes 2 days to fly there. She'd spend at least one full day there. And then usually she has to get home, because she has a family. Sometimes she would spend, obviously, more than 1 day at a place. But she flies all over the world for us, for our foundation stuff. So for us, we needed to figure out how we could do more things and just not ask her to keep flying. And I'm really happy to say that we have found ways to grow, do more initiatives, and figured out other ways for Annika to be involved. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a FaceTime call, maybe it's sharing her quotes that she believes in, throughout the event. I mean, there's other ways to share Annika's knowledge without her only being there. But that, honestly, Roy, was my biggest challenge of coming in, is just how do you grow, but not keep asking Annika, or not have Annika keep flying everywhere to attend an event.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. And as you said, when you put the big name on stage front and center, it's easy to get people to come and participate, maybe even to donate. Certainly easier. But when you have this vision that she's laid out, in order for that to scale and be able to go around the country, around the world, right? As you said, you've got to have a mechanism in place where her name and her brand is enough to bring people out and to support that from a sponsorship and participation perspective. So what are some of the things that you've had success doing in that space?
Yeah, meaning launching new initiatives or funding the initiatives?
Both. Both.
Yeah, what I was thinking is, just to back up, our mission is to develop, empower, and advance young women around the world through golf and in life. And we're the only foundation that helps girls through golf at every life stage. So we'll do clinics for young girls, get them interested in the game. We do 7 junior girls invitational golf tournaments, 2 in Asia, 2 in Europe, 1 in Latin America, and then 2 in the US. We do 2 women's collegiate events that are unbelievable. Now we're helping young pros. We help a dozen, technically 14 college grads as they pursue pro golf. Give them a beautiful club to play at, housing, financial assistance, and mentorship from Annika. And then we partnered with a women's professional tour called the Annika Women's All Pro Tour. And that just finished recently. And now the women are playing in LPGA Q School. But the one program we launched this year for that professional tour, the top 5 get access to the Epson Tour at a minimum, and they can play for better access through Q School. This year, the top 20 players on the Annika Women's All Pro Tour, they're going to get a grant, or they are getting a grant to cover LPGA Q School fees. And that's can range up to $6,500 a player, which is a huge financial nut to cover. So we're really happy. That was really a game changer, I think, for that tour, to make it kind of the legitimate tour to play on if you want to play pro golf and get to the Epson Tour and LPGA Tour. But one example to answer your question is in Europe, we did a Q&A session at our tournament. Annika was there. It was for girls all around Europe. And Annika was answering questions, and through every answer, she was sharing a life lesson, basically. And after the session, and I was moderating it, after the session that evening, I wrote down, like literally in 10 minutes, like 18 different life lessons that Annika shared. Either a quote, a phrase, a sentence, a belief, whatever it is. And so there, in some of the tournaments, junior events, even college events, Annika, can't physically be there just due to her schedule and all the other things she already does for our foundation. So this is a small idea, if you will, but it has huge impact. We put an Annika quote on every tee box. And for some of these players, they're in the midst of a tournament, so they can't necessarily focus, solely on these quotes. But I'm telling you, after every round or after every tournament, I always hear a player or a parent that talks about, hey, that quote on the 12th tee, that is something that we have to keep in mind going forward. And it's quotes like, don't let golf define you as a person. Your hard work doesn't pay off immediately. Be nicer to yourself. Be the best you can be. Stop comparing yourself to others. Failure is just a way to learn. The best is yet to come. I mean, these are all things that Annika says, believes in, whatnot. And they're not just helpful in golf, Roy. Like, these are things that help people in life. So it's a lot of life development initiatives and wisdom. And it's just doing things like that to help further develop these players. Another separate example, just on the golf development side, is just we did a big college event for the top teams in the country, but they usually come from the Power 4 conferences. But there's like 20 other conferences out there for women's college golf. So we created a tournament for the mid-major conference schools, basically. So if you win your mid-major conference, you get an invite to this tournament. We just started it last year, and it's called the More Than Golf Invitational. So it's really good mid-major conference, women's collegiate teams. And a lot of those players, they don't necessarily want to pursue pro golf. Some do, but a lot of them don't. So we said, oh, let's create an event that's amazing on the golf side, but bring in 24 executive women from around the country, different industries, to basically meet these student athletes, build relationships, share advice, tell them what they're doing, what industry, what kind of job, maybe share some obstacles they've had to overcome. So it's to try to help these student athletes broader than just playing in a really cool golf tournament, which we do at Old Barnwell. It's like in this amazing, relatively new private club in South Carolina. So it's unbelievable on the golf side, but we're giving these student athletes a chance really to further their career, if you will, by building relationships with successful executive women. So those are just, a couple of really different types of examples of what we've done, but we've doubled in size over the past 2.5 years. We're reaching twice as many girls and young women now than we used to be each year. We've launched so many new initiatives, Roy. It's so exciting.
Well, you and I had a chance to meet at the Executive Women's Golf event that you ran up here in the Chicago suburbs at Kemper Lakes, and talk a little bit about your vision for that Executive Women's program.
Yeah, that's actually the new life stage that we're trying to help. So I was talking about the young girls, juniors, collegiate, young pros. Now we're trying to help executive women, or, it's female business professionals. It's not like you have to be at a certain title and above. But I was told by many people that a lot of executive women don't play golf or aren't that familiar with golf. They get left out of golf opportunities, even the corporate charity golf outing. And then they miss opportunities to build relationships outside the company and even within the company. So we said, oh, why don't we do something to help these executive women learn a little something about golf, make them not so intimidated by the sport, and then bring them together so they can, build relationships and network amongst each other. So it's one of our newer pillars, if you will, Roy. And, we did it as a way to raise money and get companies involved, and then they get to send some of their corporate executive women to participate. And it's a really nice event. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 hours, hands-on training, nice lunch, nice networking reception afterwards. You're taught by amazing female golf instructors. I mean, it's a really, really nice event. But in our minds, we're helping now executive women further their careers by learning a sport that's pretty prevalent in the business world.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really important point, because being around a lot of charity and corporate and celebrity events, right, the percentage of women that are participating is always very low. And many for the same reasons you described, which is they don't feel comfortable, or they don't feel that their game is at a level that's good enough to be out there, right? You almost never hear a guy say, I'm not good enough to go to that outing. They're always like, yeah, that's fine. I'll go, I'll hit the ball and we'll play somebody else's tee shot. But oftentimes you hear women say, well, I'm not good enough to be in that. And I've played with women at many events that hit a great ball and hit some really long shots and great putts and everything else. And so it's a shame that they're missing out. So I think that's a great opportunity, and we look forward to seeing how we can work together and partner with the ANNIKA Foundation to create more of those opportunities.
Yeah, it's something that we're definitely keeping our eye on. And again, we've just launched so many new initiatives over the past 2.5 years. We're letting some of them kind of digest and just making sure we're executing them in the highest quality fashion before we continue to add a lot more initiatives. But we have a lot of plans going forward, so it'll be really exciting.
Well, Rob, we appreciate you taking time to share your vision for the foundation with us, and we're excited to see how Sports Philanthropy Network and our partners can support those efforts. If people want more information or want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, if they want more information, they should just go to our website, ANNIKAFoundation.org. If they want to reach out to me with a question or they're interested in getting involved and supporting us in some way, more than happy to have them reach out to me via email. Rob O, R-O-B-O, at ANNIKAFoundation.org. Hey, Roy, one other thing I was thinking about is we're actually announcing the winner, the inaugural winner of a new award, and I just wanted to mention it. It's called the Annika Inspiration Award, and it's presented by a company called Cleveland Brothers, who's an amazing, amazing partner with our foundation. But the award is going to recognize an Annika alum. We probably have over 9,000 Annika alums out there, someone who's played in our tournaments or participated in one of our initiatives. And we want to recognize somebody who is doing something great after golf. So most athletes, the golf and the sport is kind of the end all be all, and they want to play at the highest level, probably at the pro level. And but we want to recognize someone who's doing something great after golf. In essence, they've climbed up another mountain, or they're climbing up another mountain in life to impact and inspire others. And it's to help us showcase that golf can be used as a means to an end. You can take what you've learned from golf to do great things in life. But what I've also realized is a lot of athletes, when they make that transition to what I call the real world, sometimes there's a huge level of disappointment, a sense of failure. I'm starting over. I don't know what to do. And sometimes guilt. Their parents have supported them, and they never actually got to their, ultimate goal. And this award, I think, is going to be so cool because it's going to help all athletes understand that, there's more to life than just their sport, and there's other mountains to climb in life. And I just remember asking Annika a while ago why she retired. And she had made the comment before this award was even created. She said, I was climbing up the mountain of golf. And in her case, she was at the top of the mountain for several years. But
Queen of the mountain, right?
Yeah, she was the queen of the mountain for several years. And she just said, I was climbing up the mountain of golf. And then at some point, I just realized there were other mountains in life out there. I saw other mountains. And so she decided to climb down the mountain. She didn't hang her head. She climbed down the mountain and take what she's learned to go climb up another mountain. And she started a foundation. She started several businesses. Obviously, she started a family with Mike, a wonderful family. She's climbed up multiple mountains after her golf career, which has been so cool to see and so inspiring. But I think this new award is going to be really cool in a lot of ways. Just to help people understand that, golf can be a means to an end.
Well, golf is a great relationship building sport. It's a great sport for so many life lessons. And, Rob, we want to switch directions just for a quick minute here at the end. You've shared so much great information, but we want to put you in the spotlight for a minute and use our superpowers. We're going to make you commissioner of a sport. So tell us what sport you'd like that to be.
Well, I'm in the golf industry. I'm trying to help women right now. So I guess if I was a commissioner, I'm not going to say one of the professional sports. I'm going to say I want to be the head of the NCAA. And maybe I'm the head of the golf division of the NCAA. I would love to do that. I think there's so much talent coming up through the ranks that are hitting the pro golf scene and making an impact immediately, both on the men's side and on the women's side. But there's so many talented women coming up through the game. I just think it'd be fun to kind of oversee that initiative.
Well, what would you like to see going on differently? I know that the NCAA golf has been very competitive. There's some great, it's a great training ground for that next generation of golfers, both on the PGA Tour as well as on the LPGA Tour. What would you like to see handled differently?
They're doing a great job of kind of developing these student athletes. I think at some point they're going to need to get all college sports might need to get a better handle on the whole NIL monies and what's going on there. There might need to be a little bit more guidance and what you can and can't do. But I think what I would do is I would try to figure out a way. You'd have to figure out a way just to get more exposure for these talented golfers in this case. I know basketball, football, and other college sports kind of dominate the TV scene, but I think once you just get to know the golfers, not the talent level only, but it's the golfers as people. I mean, these golfers, men and women, and I've gotten to know a lot of the collegiate women golfers pretty well over the last few years. They're unbelievable people. I mean, if they don't play pro golf or have a 10-year or 15-year pro golf career, like a lot of the people I've met, they could become CEOs of companies. They're just such high quality people and women, and it would be really fun to get them more exposure, at the college level. So when they turn pro, people have even a better sense of who they are, not just as golfers, but as people. I think that'd be really cool. It's a cool opportunity that we probably all need to work on.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. There's so many amazing people, and golf trains them very well to take on those roles and deal with ambiguous situations and figuring out rulings and strategies and everything else. So, Rob, congratulations on the amazing work you're doing with the ANNIKA Foundation. We're excited to continue following your success, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me, Roy. Keep up the good work.
And for all of our viewers and listeners, we appreciate you taking time to join us on the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. This is your host, Roy Kessel, signing off. Please remember to live generously. Thank you.